Hey, welcome. And sorry, we have to go back to the vendor app. And the reason for this is because we want to have an extra field, which is going to be the vendor ID. And the reason we are having this extra field is because we are going to be able to approve and reject the vendor. And in order to do this, it means we have to update the approved to equal false or to equal true in order to approve and reject. And in order to do what I just said, we have to get the vendor UID and update that vendor UID. So what we want to do is whenever a vendor is created, that vendor is going to have a field which is going to be the vendor ID. Okay, so now what you have to do is to run your vendor app. And in the future, we're going to go back to the web admin panel and we're going to be able to approve and reject vendors. So for now, you just have to go back to your vendor app and we want to add this extra field. To do this, you have to go to the controllers folder and then this over here, controllers, and you can see I already added mine. I'm just going to get rid of this and do this again. Over here, we can create a new field and we can call this field vendor ID. And now we want to get the ID of that created vendor. To do this, we have to use the Firebase auth and remember we already created a variable to store that Firebase auth. So over here we can then say underscore auth dot current user and dot UID. Great. And over here we need this and have your comma. And also we have to do this within the models folder and the vendor model. We can just add this right after the approved vendor. Sorry, we have to create it here over here. Okay, first of all, we have to add this field. It's going to be a type of string and vendor ID. Great. And also we have to say required, and this dot vendor ID. And now we have to pass it over here. We can easily just copy this and paste. And this is going to be vendor ID, vendor ID. I'm just going to copy this to make sure I have no spell mistake and it is a type of string. And over here now we can add the vendor ID and vendor ID. Sounds good. And also I have to save this file. And since we have a new field, we have to delete that old collection in order for the new user or the new vendor to have that new field. Okay, over here. First of all, I'm just going to sign out, and you can see currently the set to null. It is null because we do not longer have that field. Vendor, vendor, sorry, yeah, vendors, and delete collection, and we also have to go to this over here and delete that user because remember our check is if the user is signed in, then we want to show this. So we can just delete the user because at this time I did not know the current logged in user. So I'm just going to delete, go to the authentication tab and delete account. Delete this also. And we just have to alt restart and hopefully it takes us to the login screen so we can create a new account and fill in the vendor registration form. Okay, still. Okay, for some reason we can just go ahead and fill this first of all and see. Okay, and this. Okay, and Mac store email address is gonna be this and mac@gmail.com and country is gonna be Algeria and choose state is gonna be this and okay, sorry, Algeria. Okay, this and okay, and we can just fill this and I'm gonna click on save and see what's gonna happen. Waiting for this, still waiting for this, and back to the Firestore database. Okay, seems good, seems good. And I'm gonna check the authentication tab also, and I'm gonna open this in a new tab. Okay, we have no error. We have no email over here, and that is because we just have to auto restart our app because remember the check was the user has to be created. The user have to be created over here before they can visit that for registration form. So we just needed to auto restart, and let's go check our Firebase database, and we should have the collection called vendors, and we should have that field, that new field called vendor ID. And you can see we have this vendor ID, and it is basically the same thing over here. And instead of doing that, we could have just created that field manually and copy that rather than deleting our users.